Hi everyone, today we'll be analysing Poppies by Jane Weir. These are some key themes to make sure you have noted down for this poem. And as always, we'll be using the 4-step approach. If you'd like more details on how to do this, make sure to check out my other video on how to analyse any poem. Okay, so let's get started firstly by looking at the significance of the title. So as we know, the title for this poem, Poppies, is just one word, but it does hold a lot of deeper meaning. The word poppies instantly evokes ideas about Remembrance Day and symbolises the grief and mourning associated with the loss of soldiers. So the fact that this title is a singular word could also reflect the emotional isolation experienced by families left behind when loved ones go to war. Here poppies serves as an extended metaphor, representing not just remembrance, but also the fragility of the mother-son relationship and the specific nature of her grief. So now let's take a look at the structural techniques used in this poem. Now, one of the most notable structural features of this poem is its direct address. The narrator, who's presumably the mother, is speaking to her son. Although his death is never confirmed, it is heavily implied. Therefore, this letter-like style, almost epistolary style of writing, positions the reader as an observer, creating a sense of intimacy and emotional depth. This structure allows the poem to explore both physical and emotional separation. The ambiguity around whether the son is dead or simply away at war broadens the poem's relatability, resonating with anyone who has experienced distance or loss. The poem is also written in free verse, lacking any regular rhyme or meter. In your exam, you can say this reflects the unpredictable and disorganized nature of grief. It also mirrors how overwhelming emotions often come in waves, and just like the poem, without any logic or rhythm. We also see enjambment used throughout, where lines flow into the next without any pause. This mimics the narrator's stream of consciousness, reinforcing the authenticity of her emotional experience. Now, in contrast, the use for caesura, which is pauses created by commas or dashes, reflects moments where the speaker is overwhelmed, struggling to contain her feelings. Examples of this include lines like "sellotape bandaged around my hand, I rounded up as many white cat hairs," or "after you'd gone, I went into your bedroom." These pauses suggest moments where she's been choked with emotion, trying to stay composed. Now, another important structural element to make a note of is the shifts in time in this poem. Now, as we can see, the poem moves between memories of her son as a child and the present moment where he's leaving for war. This contrast between the past and present highlights both the closeness of their bond and also the emotional weight of her loss. These personal domestic moments, such as helping him get ready for school, remind us that every soldier is also somebody's child. This humanizing detail helps the reader reflect on the personal cost of war. Just a quick reminder, if you're finding this video helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Okay, so now let's look at some key language techniques of the poem. The poem opens with a reference to Armistice Day, immediately setting a tone of remembrance and grief. The symbolism of poppies, introduced in the title like we said earlier, is also revisited throughout the poem. Poppies symbolize not only remembrance, but also fragility and beauty, mirroring both the mother's emotional state and the tenderness of her love towards her son. We also see powerful imagery used throughout the poem. For instance, the line we said earlier, "sellotape bandaged around my hand." Here the word bandage cleverly blends maternal care with the violence of war. Another example of this is the phrase "bias binding around your blazer." This use of plosive alliteration creates a tense, nervous tone, suggesting the mother's deep concern. This is a great example of how you can zoom in on individual words or phrases in your analysis. This tip actually applies to almost everything you do in English, whether it's a poem or if you're looking at a quote from a text or a play. Try to focus on one word which leaves a lasting impact, and in your analysis, discuss its connotations and the writer's intention in using it. This is also great to do because it covers AO2, which impresses examiners and hopefully means you get more marks for your point. We also see juxtaposition throughout the poem, contrasting tender domestic actions like "smooth down your shirt" with harsher militaristic words like "blockade" and "bandaged." This highlights the emotional conflict between love and war. It also reflects the contrast between the nurturing world of home and the violence of the battlefield. The poet also uses emotive language to express their closeness and the pain of separation. In later stanzas, we see caesura paired with listing, reinforcing the mother's struggle to stay composed. For example, the list-like structure might suggest she's trying to stay focused, performing practical tasks to prepare her son while pushing down her emotions. This mirrors the reality many families face during times of war, doing their duty despite the heartbreak. We also encounter religious imagery and the symbol of the dove, representing innocence, peace, and a longing for spiritual connection. The dove could symbolize the sun's spirit or the mother's prayer for peace. Now, in the final stanza, Weir uses the metaphor, released a songbird from its cage. This metaphor can represent the mother letting go, both of her son and her emotional turmoil. The image of a bird flying free might suggest peace, but it also implies that the son may never return. So finally, let's summarize the poem's shift in tone. As the poem progresses, the tone evolves. At first, the mother recalls memories from childhood. The narrator's tone is nurturing and nostalgic. But as the memories move closer to the present, the emotion intensifies. We see her grief begin to unravel, and by the end of the poem, the tone becomes one of resigned acceptance. This shift reflects the passage of time and her emotional journey, from closeness to separation to grieving. So for the last part of this video, let's look at how Poppies compares to other poems. First, we have Kamikaze, which is a great match. Both poems explore war from a family perspective and show the emotional aftermath of a loved one's actions during conflict. Each poem reflects the tension between duty and personal values, and both use emotive language and symbolism to convey that inner conflict. Another strong comparison is War Photographer. Like Poppies, it focuses on the emotional effects of war, especially the disconnection between those at home and those in war zones. And also, both poems explore guilt, memory, and helplessness through a personal lens. And that's all we have for the breakdown of Poppies. Let me know in the comments which poem you're comparing it to, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this helpful. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.